everybody, hello. You're going to need 2 pieces of base cards that are 7 by 10, and on them, on the 10-inch length, you're going to score at 2.5, at 5, and at 7.5. Okay, and you can do the same on the other piece. Okay, so that's those. So one of them you're going to put to one side for now. We'll deal with that in a minute. And then on this one, I'm actually going to use my ruler. I'm not going to use the scoreboard for this. So I'm going to get a pencil and a ruler. And along the top, we want to mark at 1 1/4, 3 3/4, at 6 1/4, and at 8 3/4. Okay, and I'm also going to do this at the bottom. Now I'm going to make sure that this is going to be the back of my card. So that will end up being the front, that will end up being the back, because we're going to draw a whole heap of lines on here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line, joining up those 2 dots, just a faint line. I mean, it doesn't matter because you're not going to see it, but anyway, just going to draw a faint line, drawing it. In fact, I'll go for a bolder line. Don't know if you can see, you can't fully see my line, but you can kind of see the lines. You sort of see the lines, maybe. I like that, you can see the lines, there you go. Right, then what you need to do is you need to cut yourself out a little square, and this needs to be 1 7/8 by 1 7/8. Okay, so you cut yourself out a little square to 1 7/8. Keep this, and what I would do is I would make this piece that we're doing now, I would make this a template. So get yourself a bit of scrap card and do these measurements on it. Cut it all out, and then you can just use that as a template on top of whatever. So this, for your first one, just do yourself a little template. It just makes life easier. I'm going to do it from scratch and just do it straight onto the card, just so you can see. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take, I don't know where that bit of pink's come from. Right, we're going to take our little square, and I'm going to start on, let's have a look. So let's just, hang on, let me just fold these first. So we're going to fold along the score lines. So that will be the front, but we're going to turn over at the moment so we can carry on drawing our lines. So you take your square, and we're going to start over here. And what we want to do is put this square so that the two, you're going to have it like a diamond, and you're going to have the point where the line is and the bottom point where the line is. And your 2 left and right points should head off the side. So one should go off the side of your score line, and one should go off the side of your card. That's absolutely fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw around your square. Don't go past that score line though. I'm just going to draw around the square. Now there's probably a way of doing this so you don't have to do all the squares. But I did try and measure it out and it just wasn't happening. So that's why I thought, let me just stick with the squares because the squares worked. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so that's square number 1. Then I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to do the same again. So line it up at the bottom with the line, and at the top with the line. Your points will hang off, that's fine. And then just draw around your square. Okay, so you should end up with 2 squares. Hopefully you can see that. You can sort of see it there, 2 squares. And then the middle one, you are going to, well, if you want to, it's probably more sensible to do that, is to go halfway along the width, so 3.5, and at 3.5, and draw yourself a line. This is why you need to do it with the template rather than doing it on your card. I mean, this is the back side of the card, so you're not actually going to see this. And draw yourself a little line going all the way across, like that. And then we're going to put the square back on, make sure the top corner goes through the line, the bottom corner goes through the line, and this side point goes through the line. And then we're going to draw again. You don't have to draw all the way down. As long as you go where the other square is, that's fine. Hopefully you can see that. You see those 3 squares? And then we're going to pick this on all of these 4 lines. Okay. Now, if you want to, you could actually stop here and do half. And the reason being, because if you fold this in half, we're going to cut some sections out. And if you fold it in half, we can cut it from the top and the bottom at the same time. So let me grab my cutting mat. You can use scissors if you want. I'm going to do a bit of both. So for these ones here on the side, I'm going to use scissors, and then I'm going to use cutting mat for the inside ones. So what we're going to do is where you've got your square, you want to leave your squares, and you're just cutting out these little in-between diamonds. Okay, I'm going to do these top ones. It's just a bit easier to do it with scissors than it is to do it with a Stanley knife. So this is why you need it to overlap, because you need, where your crease line is, you need to have something to hold on to. Right, so that's your outside ones, and let me do the two in the middle. I'm going to use a Stanley knife for that. So, very interesting looking card so far. So now what we want to do is bring in our other piece of card. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to have mountain, valley, mountain. So what's going to happen is this is going to stick on here. But before we do that, what we need to do is we need to decorate these two middle pieces, because we are going to cut pieces out of here. So variation number one is you just decorate, 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 and then that just goes on the front like that. Okay, so that's variation number one. That's not the variation we're doing today, but that's variation number one. Variation number two is that I haven't cut panels for this. We have panels on the inside here. Okay, so we're going to stick these two on here. We're going to need two more mats for the back, because that's where you're going to write your message, but we'll come to that later. So then what we want to do is we should probably decorate this first before we stick it down. I reckon. I think we'll do that. So on this one then, I've cut out in total 12 mat squares that are 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, and 12 pattern squares that are 1 1/2 by 1 1/2. Now I've done two different patterns, so my thought was to alternate them. So I'm going to go ahead and stick these down. So that's that bit stuck down. So if we bring our other piece in, what we're going to do is this is going to go over the top. Now you just want to make sure that your score lines all marry up. Okay, so I'm going to stick one side down and then stick the other side down. I am going to be cutting out some of these pieces. Okay, so just so you know. Obviously, if you want to just do a simple version, you can just, So I need to stick all of these three. So I'm going to put some glue on the back of these. Bring my card into place. And then make sure I line up those score lines with these score lines, and make sure I line up the edges with the edges and the top and bottom, so everything completely matches up. So that is like that. And then we're going to do the same with this one here. As I said, you're not going to see, so all that drawing that we did, you don't see any of it, but I definitely would make yourself a template, because it means you haven't got to do all that measuring and whatever again. So that is that. So hopefully then, when this comes forward like that, it should stand up. Now what I would do is I would put it in the envelope like that if I were you. So that's how I would do it in the envelope, because then that person could just open it and it stands up like that. Okay, now so that's option one. You could leave it like that. However, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut out all of these green areas. Now if you wanted to, you could draw around, you could stick the two pieces together and cut them out together, but I think that it's going to work out better if I do it now. So we're going to do it now. I'm going to go in now and cut, because then you're definitely going to have them lining up. Because when I did them before, they weren't quite lining up and I had to go in and trim bits off. Okay, so that is another step down the line. So if you wanted to, you could go with that step. Okay, but we're going to take it further. We're going to take it a next step on. Okay, so that's another version. So that's version 2. So version 1 is just with it flat at the back, just a flat card at the back. This is version 2 with the sides cut out. Version 3, so I was wrong, we're actually going for version 3. What we're going to do with version 3 is we are going to do some more surgery. So we are going to come in here like this. If you wanted to, that could be your next level, but I'm going further. Yes, I am. Okay, so that's where we're headed to. That's our final destination. But if you wanted to, so that's where we're at. If you wanted to, you could go on a step further and you could do, so this is my sample one, which I haven't decorated. You could do it like this. So on the top, I haven't cut that middle triangle, top and bottom out, but I have cut these triangles out here. So I've still got that solid bit at the back. So that's another way you could do it. So if you do it this way, it almost looks hexagonal. You've got almost hexagons going on. Don't ask me how, but you have. So that's another way of, this is my sample card. So that's another way of doing it. And if you want to get completely ridiculous, you can actually cut these out. So you can cut the whole thing out. So you've basically got 2 lots of diamond square things going on. Okay, so that's like the final level when you haven't got any more to cut out. So that is the other option. And obviously it stands up like that. And I would definitely fold it down like this. That's with the Christmas cracker. You see the Christmas cracker? So then when they open it up, they can see it. So that's the final, that's the other version. But we're going to stop here for now. So that's where we're stopping for. But I quite like it because it actually, when you look at it, you're like, how on earth is that attached to this? It doesn't make sense. It kind of defies logic. So yeah. So then we just need to add our greeting on the front. And we need to add our white pieces on the back. So you've got somewhere to write. So on the back, we just need 2 white pieces. If you want to mat them, you can. But if you're going to mat them, they will be 2 1/4 by 6 3/4, and your white piece will be 2 by 6 1/2. I'm just going to cut it straight out of white because my mat is white anyway. So they're going to go on the back there. Okay, so that's that bit. And then on the front, I've got this birthday wishes, which I wanted to put on the front there. You're going to miss part of your trellisy bits, but I thought like that would be quite nice. So I'm just going to do 2 little tabs here. Right, so Mitzi, how will it fit? Oh, that's a good point, Mitzi. Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, so you could put it in like that, I guess. Oh, you'd have to actually stick it like that. Maybe fold the front round. Mine doesn't fold flat. That's the only problem once you do that. If you do 1 front, 1 back. Oh, you could do it like that. If you did 1 front, 1 back, that would work. Okay, I'm going to go for it and then, yeah. But yes, that's a good point. So then, when it pops out, so does your, there you go. So does your greeting. And then to fold it flat in answer to Mitzi's question, which I haven't thought of, I'm going to fold it flat like that, put that one there and that one there. And then that will go in an envelope for a 5 by 7 card. So there you go. That is option 3B for you. So there you go. that's your card for today. So I hope you liked it. And obviously, as I said, you can go on, you can do all kinds. So there you go. And if you wanted to as well, you could use circles. So if you want to cut yourself out a circle that's like 1 7/8 roughly, because they all overlap, so you could do that. You could potentially do it with stars, hexagons. Imagine that done with hexagons. That might be quite nice because they tessellate. So you might have a play around with the sizes, because you wouldn't necessarily with a hexagon, you wouldn't necessarily need them to overlap because you could just have, as long as the sides butt up against each other, then that could work. Bye everyone.